Talking Michigan football here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please also join Justin Rowe, our guest, each and every week. He's got a podcast called Stadium in Maine, so you get a slice of what Justin delivers here, but join him on his podcast. Yeah, because the disgruntled Michigan fan going into this season was disgruntled because it was 9-3, 10-2, and a lot of promise. And of course, 2018 crashed at the end, and 2016, and all these near misses, and we're banging our heads against the elite, and we can't get it done and can't get over the hump. Well, it'd be nice to try to get over the hump at this point, because that was what the program that Jim Harbaugh had built, and the team that we had seen every year was, despite disappointing, was at least consistent in its level of play. And now all of a sudden, after a week one showing that seemed to be pretty consistent with what they had been, plus maybe Joe Milton gives them a spark and fills that answer at quarterback, they've just hit the ditch.
Yeah. And so the one stat that jumped out to me, and this isn't even a game stat, but I believe Michigan has 44 stars on their team, 4 or 5 stars on their team. And combined in all 3 or 4 of their games this year, all other teams have had only 25 4 stars or higher on their team. So it's not a talent issue. Michigan has very talented players, and you obviously injuries with Kwity Paye out on Saturday, Aiden Hutchinson, Jalen Mayfield, and then Ambry Thomas and Nico Collins, of course, all opted out, and so they're all done for. I believe Kwity Paye could come back, but everyone else is done for the year. So you can say injuries definitely have not helped the Wolverines, but the fact that they go into each and every one of these first 4 games and from a just paper talent level, they are much more talented than pretty much everyone out there. And so that's why I think it's really frustrating for Michigan fans to say we've had top 10 recruiting classes every year under Jim Harbaugh, except for I believe it was 2018, where they were 22nd. But it's not like they were 60th. And so the talent level is still there, but for some reason, Jim Harbaugh and this coaching staff cannot get the best out of these guys. It's hard to say if it's a development issue, if it's just not getting them ready to play and have a chip on their shoulder and play together and all that stuff. But that is really what is the big problem at Michigan. And it seems like nobody can answer the question of what's the culture, what's the problem. Nobody can pinpoint that and why it's been such an issue, because Jim Harbaugh has done well at everywhere he's gone, and there have been the rumors, not even rumors, but former players have said he wore out his welcome, and so you wonder if he's doing the same here, which it's just crazy. It's his alma mater. This was the perfect job for him, perfect job for Michigan to have him here, and now it just seems like they're so far from it. So I think that the culture thing and the not being able to develop and have his guys ready to play each and every week.
I got to say that I've gone through the post-game comments from Jim Harbaugh through these losses, and I've tried to look for the same thread that you did. Is that because sometimes something will leak out in regards to, there's some kind of a trust issue, or there's some kind of dissension in the locker room, or something's going on here, or maybe he's indirectly pegging a coordinator as not doing his job or something like that, but I don't see it. He was very close to the vest in regards to just need to get back to work and get better and all those other things. So there's necessarily there's an obvious issue, because the talent's there to at least be better than this, not necessarily be elite, but be what they've been in the past. Can it get any worse? So what do the games mean the rest of the season? You had mentioned they're playing for 2021. Totally get that. There's no question about that. Jim Harbaugh is going to be back in 2021. So you've laid that out for us in the past, that regardless of how bad things get, unless he decides I'm done, I'm gone, that he signed through 2021, they're not going to get rid of him based on one bad season. And regardless of what anybody in college football or Michigan fans think, the other seasons were not bad. Maybe didn't meet expectations, but not bad seasons. So the record is kind of window dressing, whether they miraculously turn it around and finish 5-4 or whatever, or it's 2-7 or whatever. But in terms of just the confidence, recruiting. How important do you think these games are to win finishing out?
I don't know if they're even, obviously you have to beat Rutgers. If Jim Harbaugh loses to Rutgers in year 6, in my opinion, he should be left on the bus. And so I think that's one of those games. And even a lot of people would say the same thing about Michigan State when they lost to him. That could have been the final one for him too. But beyond that, I don't know if you need to win all these games, but you need to show fight and progression. You need to show that you do have a talented football program and you can rally your guys around each other to move towards one goal. The leadership is obviously lacking, and it seems like it's lacking at just about every level, whether it be the head coach, the coordinators, even the team captains. It doesn't seem like there's anybody out there that's saying, hey, guys, let's come together. We need to fight for each other and at least, have some dignity for this season. So to me, the recruiting thing is about as important as it gets. You've got J.J. McCarthy, a 5-star quarterback who's coming in next season, who is, again, he's the next savior. So, but I've watched him at IMG Academy. He is very, very talented. So it's guys like that you cannot lose. And he actually came out this week, as well as probably 4 or 5, 6 other recruits that said they're 100% committed to Michigan. Which is good news for the Wolverines and Michigan fans, because I think that was the big worry that as this team tanked, the recruits would start jumping off board. But I still think that in terms of having recruiting momentum, you do have to show that you can compete in a Big Ten level. I think if they go out and, which is to me probably more, it's going to happen if they give up 70 points to Ohio State, it's going to be hard to convince anybody on any secondary recruit to come to Michigan. And so I think it's a struggle. But in terms of Jim Harbaugh trying to keep his job, or these coordinators, you have to show that you can adjust and you can work to really improve throughout the season.
It's baffling, considering what he brought to the table when he got there and what he performed and brought to the field the first 2 years in particular, but even through 2019, even though, again, not meeting expectations, but still top 15 teams. And now, wow, I don't know where they're at. All right, Justin Rowe, Stadium in Maine podcast. Please join him there. Michigan, Rutgers, they obviously, as you mentioned, they've got to win this game because Rutgers may be miles improved over what they've been, but still that stigma of losing to Rutgers. A lot of people that don't follow the nuts and bolts week to week are going to think, my goodness, they lost to Rutgers.
Yeah, I think that I actually think Rutgers is heading in a really good direction with their program right now. Greg Schiano's back. They've got some solid recruits. They actually have some ex-Michigan players that transferred over there that are doing really well for them. And so I was on board with Rutgers until last week. They lose to Illinois, who I thought Illinois is probably, the worst team in the Big Ten all year. And so maybe their momentum has fallen a little bit. But I still think, just from a talent perspective, Michigan, no matter what trajectory Michigan's on and what trajectory Rutgers is on, at every single position out there, Michigan has an advantage. So I always say, and I've talked with other guys, football is 11 one-on-one matchups on every single play. And so whether you have a good culture, bad culture, whether you've got a good coach, bad coach, you've got really talented guys out there, and Michigan should win, every one-on-one matchup on nearly every play. So I think that Michigan's secondary played really well on Saturday, actually, for the first time all year, kind of. So they have some momentum going there. Obviously, the run defense was not there, not even, they didn't even show up on Saturday. Maybe Cade McNamara comes out and shows something. I don't have a ton of in-depth perspective on Rutgers, to be honest. I don't know if anybody comes out here and is scouting Rutgers week by week.
That's why my question was so vague. You notice I didn't run down like 27 players and say, what about their tight end? Yeah.
Exactly. So I do think I think they're headed in the right direction. I think that if from a coaching perspective, it looks like Rutgers seems to outcoach Michigan on Saturday, that is going to be, it's just going to keep falling down and down with every week here, unless Michigan turns it around a little bit. So I think if Michigan wants to make any type of statement this year, they have to come out on Saturday and win pretty convincingly and look at least like they're a competent football team.
Justin mentions Greg Schiano bringing in players from Michigan. He's also brought in players from all over the Big Ten, including his starting quarterback, Noah Vedral, from Nebraska, 63% passer through their games thus far, 5 touchdowns, 7 picks. Now, that seems to be bad, but at Rutgers, believe me, if you looked at their TD to interception ratios the past 5 years, they're just like atrocious, like unbelievably bad. Isaiah Pacheco, their leading rusher at 5.2 yards per carry. Again, if you would compare that against Rutgers' offensive production the past few years, it's miles beyond what they've done. Like, they have posted, as is one of my favorite box scores of all time, Justin, 78-0. Beyond the 78-0, look at the box score. Like, they've posted other box scores like that. I remember them having a negative passing yardage game against Iowa a couple years ago. They've been just incredibly bad. But this Rutgers team, Greg Schiano, he knows how to run a football program.
Yeah, he does. I mean, and he was there before, and it went well with him there before as well. So I think he's got him moving in the right direction. They're going to win some. They've already won some football games this year. They're going to win some more football games this year. But I remember his first name was Art, the quarterback for Satowski. Yes. And I mean, looking at his stats, and I don't want to rag on a kid, but it was like 1 touchdown and like 25 interceptions or something crazy. Yes. It was just like, how does that even happen? It's so that's, again, like you said, that is what most people see Rutgers as still to this day. And so I don't think 4 games under Greg Schiano should make a huge difference, especially with the different levels that Rutgers and Michigan have been on. But I will say, I don't believe that Michigan will lose this football game, but if they even come out and if Rutgers is competing with them even in the second or the first half, it's going to be, boos from the Twitter sphere and the media and everybody else. And so I remember the last year of Brady Hoke, I believe it was, that Michigan came out. John O'Korn I can't remember who. I think it was John O'Korn had 2 interceptions in the first half against Rutgers in 2014, and then they finally pulled him. And it was just like, that seemed to be the lowest of lows for Michigan. And now it seems like it's setting up for possibly the same situation next week. So we'll see how it goes. I don't trust in this coaching staff to turn things around so quickly. So we'll see what happens for the rest of the year. But I think that most Michigan fans and this coaching staff and the players are saying they're looking at December 12th against Ohio State thinking, holy smokes, if Wisconsin can put up 49 and basically, one half because they ran out the clock essentially the whole second half, what can Ohio State do to us in 4 quarters? Because Ryan Day earlier this year said he wants to hang 100 on Michigan. So that's looking more and more realistic as we go on.
Again, it's Justin Rose, Stadium in Maine podcast. Please join him there talking Michigan. Justin, we appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks for having me.